Thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode of the Block is Hot podcast. Yeah, with me today, brought to you by the 900 Block. Today I have Ray Kash, good old-time friend of mine. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it a lot. I really appreciate it.
It's an honor for the first one. I'm excited, dude. Like, really good idea for the industry. And I'm happy to be part of it for the first one especially. Yeah,
I appreciate it, man. I mean, I want to get as many people as involved as possible. I know you're someone that has a lot to say about the industry, the current state of the industry, or what's going on here in LA. Yeah. So, I mean, just first and foremost, thanks for everything that you do for LA. I'm sure a lot of people here know the stuff that you do. I mean, you're crazy consistent with Temple. What's the history behind that?
Temple started about 3.5 years ago. I used to do it once a month in the beginning. One of the main reasons I wanted to do it, I moved here from New York myself, I was kind of like playing around there. When I moved to LA, it was so hard for me to get within the industry, you know. Yeah. I felt like I was joking with my New York friends. I was like, LA feels like a cult. Yeah. Because if you're not part of their clique, they wouldn't let you in, especially for an outsider. At the time, it felt really hard. So I had a lot of like vision and a lot of like different things I wanted to do, and it's what does everybody do? Like it comes to a point that nobody wants to give you the chance. You kind of do your own thing. Yeah. Temple didn't start it because I wanted to do that in a sense of like getting more opportunities for myself. Right. Because at that point when Temple started, I was already a resident at Sound. I was playing different clubs, so the DJ career was going good. Yeah. The reason was because of my experience that I had. I didn't want other people to experience that, especially for local artists. Right. So I wanted them to have a place that, like, if everybody else says you have a place to go, like, experiment and play music. It was kind of industry night in my vision, and we started once a month. So I didn't want to do too much of it.
At Pattern?
No. Different space. And I literally tried everything, and it was just fail after fail. Yeah. The first times I did it, I think on and off for a year. I did it at the Room right next to Couture, this small place. Yeah. We did it there a couple of times. We did it at downtown, some random places. And it was always like 10 people, 15 people would show up. And it was so demotivating because, again, it was like more for your guests. You know, if they come through, they want to support you. You want them. It was always about that for me. Like, I didn't want them to play for like empty room.
Empty room, of course.
You know, it wouldn't make a difference for me in any sense. I just wanted them. If they're giving me my time, the least I can do is have them play for a crowd. Yeah. So that was like so demotivating, and like I was like, all right, maybe like it's not for me, you know. And then I used to go to Sanctuary with Shanto, and then we used to do a party. The manager Michael became a close friend of mine. And then we were just talking one day, and he was like, hey, I have Tuesday. Nobody's doing anything. There's a party, actually.
At Sanctuary?
The Sanctuary, if you've been to the place, it's behind Pig and Whistle.
Yeah.
So on Tuesday, there was already a party. They used to use a basement. Not a lot of people know about they have a basement. Super dope spot, but I don't know, something happened. They lost the license. They used to have a party there, which they still do, but it was in the basement when I approached. It was called Cloak and Dagger. It's kind of like it's like a very all black members only. Very dope curation, but it has nothing to do with our music. And I learned actually a lot from them because they really curate for like experience. Yeah. It's not about music. Every time they have some different experience in there.
At Cloak and Dagger?
Yeah. Like they're very big on like that. And they used to be in the basement. So he's like, hey, nobody's doing the front, which was Pig and Whistle. Yeah. So I started there weekly. So I was like, whatever, what do I have to lose? That's literally was his sell-switch to me. It was like, what do you have to lose? You know, and I after like talking to people in the industry, I always like to pick people's brain. Like, for example, like Freddie B, who was the Monday Social for 22 years, I think. Every week on a Monday. Jesus. Yeah. So talking to them is like, if you genuinely want to build a brand, like weekly might help out a little bit more. Yeah. Obviously, if you have like a monthly is less headache and you can curate it better. But if you want to kind of do something that's like for locals or things like that, it just made sense at the time to do a weekly party. So we did we just started doing it there. Yeah, we started doing it like, I want to say like about like beginning of 3 years is just going to be.
Every week.
Every week, and Pig and Whistle. Then eventually they lost, like they had some issue with licensing in downstairs. So Cloak and Dagger wanted to come upstairs. And honestly, they were making better money than me, so it was their...
It made more sense whatever, to push it out.
Yeah, whatever they wanted, I would get their leftovers. Sure. So if they wanted front, I would get the back.
Right.
So that's what happened. They wanted to do the party at Pig and Whistle. shut the door, and then kind of have the entrance through the back. And I got the back room, and it was kind of interesting because it's weird enough. Like I had so many mega DJs going to Clock and Dagger that I would talk to them.
Yeah.
That was from our scene. Like Dubfire used to go there, Guy Gerber used to go there, Sion used to go there, who became a good friend. And it was cool because like I think one of the reasons they used to go there, one of their big rules is for that party is they don't have cameras. You're not allowed to use your
that's
phone.
right, on your phone.
And a lot of the people there, they have no idea about our scene.
Yeah.
So when Gerber or Dubfire go there, nobody knows who they are.
Right.
So they used to love going there. And
Right.
it was funny. They would come to my room to take a break from that, and then 20 people rush into them to take pictures of them. So we did that for a while. Hollywood, same thing. I don't know what happened. Like also, like I was thinking about giving up because it was like sometimes it was good, sometimes it was
Yeah.
bad. But I genuinely never had. Maybe one or two. I never had a night there that I was
Crazy night, yeah.
extremely satisfied.
Yeah.
You know, and as cool as it was, we were kind of in a weird way, maybe more them than me, feeding each other
Sure.
for the parties.
Mhm.
But their brand was so different, and it felt like it would be nice to kind of work together, but toward the end, it felt like we have nothing to do with each
Right.
other, you know?
Yeah, I
because,
understand.
like, for example, if they want to go smoke, they would come through my room,
To
but
go
a lot
to
of
the
them didn't
back.
like the music, so they couldn't, like, they would, like, complain or say
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
It was just, like, at the time, it was a right approach, and I'm glad we got the opportunity with the help of my boy Michael.
Mhm.
But eventually, it was just not a time, and they say everything happens for a reason, and the universe and
Yeah.
timing. So Mariana, who was an owner, so you guys know
Mhm.
her.
Yeah, the owner's a pattern bar.
I guess she was just doing information around, asking people like who's doing what, and somebody gave her my info. I think it was Patrick Kash,
Mhm.
about like local DJs who are doing things, you know,
Yeah.
like are more active. And she's a hustler. I got mad respect to her.
she
You know how
is.
she is.
Yeah.
So she hit me up for myself at first. That was her approach. She's like, I want you to play all
To play
night.
there, Yeah.
And I did it. And then we built a connection from there. Then she was just keep telling me one of my, I don't know if it's like, I guess it's a weakness in a sense. I don't like change. If something is working
Sure.
out,
If it ain't broke, don't
I'm
break
like,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
and I kind of feel like, I guess it's fear, whatever you want to call it, is if something is working or like, I want to hope, I'm more of like a hopeful, like it's going to get better.
course.
Give it a little bit more time, right?
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is good and it's bad. It's bad because sometimes these changes are necessary in your
To
growth
kinda
or like
grow.
what
Yeah,
happens.
absolutely.
But sometimes it's bad because you never know what's the opportunity, you know? Like maybe it'll be so much better. And that's kind of what happened. So she was keep telling me every week, like, hey, kind of, I know you wanna, we have Tuesday open. I heard good things about you. I talked to a couple of people in the industry that I like at the time, and especially even now, like I respect, like Eddie Vela from Dialogue, Rolando,
Yeah.
and a couple other people, and they're like, I think it's a good move. Downtown is changing. Downtown, there's a lot more younger kids there.
Yeah.
There's they have fun. They go out on weekdays. You know, like a couple years ago, like downtown was more like warehouse vibes. Now it's like people go to bars.
Yeah.
That was one of the things. I mean, I don't make money from Temple really, but the Hollywood, even the bar wasn't happy, so they
Right.
would have that talk with me, which is always awkward.
Yeah, of course.
So there was nights the bar would do like $200-300. You know, it's
Yeah.
really bad. But now when downtown is the crowd is a mixture of the people who come hang out, drink water, whatever
Sure.
they want to do, and combined with the people who are actually there to like drink and stuff too. So the bar does okay. If the bar does okay, they let you
Then
continue doing what
yeah,
you want to
for
do.
Sure.
So the first party we had in Pattern Bar was with Droog. Droog was the headliner,
Yeah,
which
I
I got
remember
Andre, and it was a great turnout. And I was like, okay, this is good. But you know how it is. Like the first one usually does
Yeah,
good.
it usually does well.
So
'cause you're
then
pushing
you
it.
also get nervous after that. You're
Yeah.
like, damn, like I
We
gotta
can
like keep
maintain
up with
it.
that
Yeah,
and maintain
for
it.
sure.
So then a couple more after that, and still like it was good. I mean,
Yeah.
overall, weekly. The thing with weekly is like it's a roller coaster. It's
course.
like it's rolling a dice.
Yeah.
You know, and after 3 years, honestly, doing this consistently, I'm sure people who have been doing it, whether it's like Cyril and them or whether it's like Freddie was doing it,
Yeah.
is genuinely, especially in LA, there's no formula. I'm keep trying to
Right.
come up with a formula like, why is it that tonight is slow or why is it that tonight is better?
Yeah.
There's no formula. Like, you know, there's been night that I had the best lineup that I felt so confident it's gonna be packed, like a headliner for
Sure.
free. The party is always free,
Yeah.
as you know. So and then not a lot of
Not
people
a lot of
show up,
people.
you know.
Yeah.
And there's not that many. There's no competition too, so it's not a competition. Tuesday, there's like not really anybody who's doing parties. And there's nights that I thought it's gonna be like just dead, and everybody
Full
shows
house.
up, you know. But that's part of it. If
Yeah.
you want to run a weekly, the thing, as I said, my main expectations from it is I hope there's gonna be enough people so it looks good for the DJs who are playing.
Right.
You know, especially one of the things I really get anxious about, and it bothers me, is when I have guests from out of country or
Of
out of
course.
city. It's the worst feeling, especially if you
Yeah.
played for them
Yeah.
and it was a full house and they
Yeah.
come to your party and there's nobody there.
Yep.
You feel guilty, even though
Yeah.
they don't care.
Yeah, I mean, again, hosting our own events, whenever we bring people from overseas, it's all
Yeah.
focused to like make
Of
sure that the
course.
party's full.
Yeah.
Whether or not we make money is kind
Yeah.
of is second,
100%.
second to that. But I mean, just back on your point about like the whole difference between how Hollywood was compared to where
Yeah.
downtown is a couple of years. I've noticed that shift where Hollywood used to be kind of the big hotspot where a
club,
lot of
yes,
stuff's going on.
of
And I
course.
mean, even with there's still some things that I think are going on there that are real well, like Surreal with Clinic Wednesdays.
Yeah.
They're still doing it in Hollywood. I
course.
know. I think they switched locations now.
They just did, yeah.
Station
Yeah.
to Sayers
Yeah, of
Club,
course.
but there's someone again without the formula. It's consistency. It's something that you've shown. For,
And sometimes, honestly, I think change can be good, you know?
Of course.
Like, even the clubs from New York, which I grew up in New
Yeah.
York, from New York to LA, I've noticed, like, even Sound is a perfect example from LA. Like, I was talking to Artie, the manager.
Sound Club.
Yeah, Sound Nightclub. That's why they constantly remodel, because these changes makes you feel like you're in a new
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're in the same room every day.
Yeah,
like,
and it's
you're
just
in the
different
same thing.
music.
You need that kind of,
Yeah.
like, things, like, in production or whatever
Yeah.
location. Just give it time. Like, I mean, like, there's been offers for me to, like, with Temple, as it's doing better, to, like, move it to another space.
Sure.
That they promise you this big budget and
Right.
this and that. But again, going back to, like, if something is doing good, the following is being built. Like, I don't care about the money. Like,
Yeah.
we never got into it for that. I didn't want to make those, like, quick moves.
Yeah,
And
quick
I have
moves to
right
just
now,
jump.
we have, like, for the past 2 years, we have 4 residents. It's
Right.
Arturo, which goes by Arturo.
Mhm.
John Halloran, which goes by Halloran, also has, like, Casbah thing. And Alex Ayers, and he goes by Ayers.
And yourself.
And myself.
Yeah.
It's like the myself story is actually kind of funny. As you know, everybody is like, we see your name all the time on the flyer. It's kind of a lie. You like lure us in and you never play. That decision I made long time ago, and like just again from experience, seeing
Yeah.
other people that I respect. That's what I always do. Like if you go to a party that you respect what they're doing, you kind of everybody's following something with your own flavor, with your
Sure.
own personality, you know. But if somebody is doing something good, you should learn from them, and you should
Of
kind of do
course.
that. So I've noticed like some of the bigger promoter, if they are hosting a party, this is one of the big ones for me. If you're thinking about like if you're listening and like thinking about doing your own brand,
Listen to
yeah, if you are thinking about doing that, by all means do it. But do it for a cause, you know, like don't make it about yourself. Like that's one of my biggest pet peeve.
Yeah.
If you make, let's say if you run a weekly party, that's in the beginning I started the convo the same way. It was never about to create something so I can play more.
Sure.
It was exactly opposite of that. Like that I didn't get enough opportunity. My experience, now I'm doing other clubs. I'm doing okay. So the people who are not getting opportunity, this is their
You're
chance.
giving a
This is their
platform for everybody
platform.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So in Temple, I think this year I played once. It was
Yeah.
opening for my birthday, and last year I think I played once or twice
Yeah.
in a whole year.
Yeah, I mean, I like the. I genuinely respect that. I mean, as far as the ethos behind wanting to give a platform for everybody else, I think that here in LA, because everything's so crazy saturated,
Yeah.
because there's so many collectives,
Of
so many
course.
new brands, so many clubs, so many shows, everything that's going on all at the same time. The easiest and I think the most efficient way for people to kind of really be successful here is to really focus on everybody else.
Of course.
Because there's a much bigger market to give people a platform for themselves to do well.
Yeah.
That it kind of you're gonna be fine regardless.
Yeah.
Again, you DJ individually. You're a
Yeah.
resident at 4 or 5 different
Yeah,
places.
of
So it's
course.
like you're doing well for
Yeah.
yourself. So I mean, I respect the fact that the brand that you're putting out is for others, and
Of
I think
course.
that's why.
And I think that's why
People-
honestly it's getting positive
Yeah,
reviews
of
now,
course.
because they
Of
literally like, I mean, yeah, there's parties that are to some extent are doing it, but there's nothing else in LA that's focusing on local talent.
Yeah.
And honest
Yeah.
true, not to like sound like such a kiss ass or anything.
No.
It's just like with me is like this is my life. I quit my day job like 2 years ago. I do this full time.
Yeah.
I'm out. I've seen every party. I've been to different countries, different cities,
Yeah.
seen different band. And honest true, like I've heard better music at Temple with local artists from
Yeah.
LA than I heard in a festival in like Barcelona,
Sure.
for example.
Sure.
You know, not saying that they not. It's just I feel like when you made it to that level, is
The
you don't
quality, the
have-
caliber
yeah,
kinda-
of course.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you can't
it
blame
takes
them
away
either
from it.
because they doing this like also they doing it full time. You
Yeah.
know, like if they're traveling every day. Like I had this conversation with somebody else. Like if they're traveling nonstop, their age is getting like older, and their life is so different than like a local DJ
Right,
life.
yeah.
They don't have time to go through like 8 hours
Right.
every day digging music or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So like obviously that affects the music too.
Yeah.
But somebody who's local, they're so excited. If this is their only gig this month, they're gonna put so much work into it, and it really shows. You
Yeah.
know. And as far as the booking goes from Temple, I had the same format from day one. That I'm still doing the same thing. I have two formula for to get bookings there.
Yeah.
Like you haven't played, this is again another one of those things. If you're new, I would love to give you opportunity. That's a whole concept. I think Temple is the only place you should start as a new artist.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
because it shouldn't go from, in my opinion, it should never go from bedroom to really
To
proper
really
gig.
big room. Yeah,
you know,
for
which
sure.
it happens in
Yeah.
LA. We both know it, but I don't think it should be like that. I think there's like levels of thing to do it. You know, there's
I
ways
agree.
to do it.
Yeah.
So if you're new, my rule with that is be passionate.
Yeah.
And I think I have a good read on that after doing this for a while. That I know who's doing it because they love the music
Yeah.
and they're doing it for the right reason, or who's doing it to get a couple of likes on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know,
Of course.
if you're in it for the right reason, I'm all support. And I don't have to name anybody, but you know
Sure.
plenty of DJs who are play for you guys.
Yeah.
Their first gig ever was Temple, and it makes me so happy.
Yeah, of
from
course.
3 years ago to see how much they grew.
Yeah.
You know, at that point that nobody was giving them opportunity, I saw something, I gave them opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy to see them
That's good.
being successful. And the other part is if you're a veteran, you just got to be experienced, which that's usually the case.
Yeah.
The only thing that they love playing for me, those guys, is every time they hit me up like, hey, what do you want me to play? It's always like, whatever you can play
Yeah.
anywhere else, play it for me.
Yeah.
Because I wish promoters would tell me that more
Yeah.
often, you know? Because there's always some expectation, some format. But again, being an industry night, that really helps. So I can't blame a commercial club for telling you exactly what to play because that's their market. With us being a
Right.
small party and being all industry people, like you've been around, you know the music. If you see the
Yeah.
dance floor in Temple, is like 80 to 90% is either DJs, promoters, or somebody
Yeah.
related to industry.
Yeah.
It's not somebody who just like walking around the
Walk,
block
yeah.
and happen to fall inside and come
Yeah.
ask you for Cardi B, you know?
Yeah.
It's like literally somebody who knows the music. So, and I learn from my experience, like every time, like the way I look at Temple is like, it's a social experiment for me.
Sure.
Like there's so many things I learn about the industry just through doing it every week.
Yeah.
One of the things I learn is every time you give an artist freedom and a full place to like have the freedom of expression to fully express themselves, they always play their best sets.
I mean, yeah. I mean, again, with the whole club, like how you're saying,
Yeah.
clubs, you can always expect them to want a certain kind of sound from you.
Of course.
I think that mixed with your experience with wanting to just give your freedom to your own artist,
Of
I
course.
think them feeling that is ultimately going to help them when they get to a level when they're playing in a club. Because
Yeah.
I think people have every right to. I mean, a club does expect some sort of sound from you,
Of course.
but I don't think they have any ground to kind of tell you what to play. And I've always told like our artists and friends of ours that are really close to us, like, hey, go out there and play your sound, whatever it
course.
is you sound like. I mean, granted, if it's not exactly what they want, they might tell you something about it after the fact, but at least your integrity, your
I
artist
think everything
integrity.
you do has to be a part of
Compromise.
yourself. Yeah, you
Yeah,
know, like
yeah.
like do it your way. Like again, like this whole conversation, probably this whole interview, I'm gonna like go all over
Yeah.
and then get back to it.
No
That's how
worries.
like
Yeah,
my
it's
mind
fine.
works.
However you want.
But like since you're talking about that, for example, I use myself as an example. Like this past couple of years alone, I have such a crazy range and diversity.
Yeah.
It's good and it's bad. It's good because like you get to play different sounds. I go from like down tempo to techno or just anything in between. And there is times that like for venues, like for example for One Oak, right?
Sure.
I play there. The fee is good, and like you want to educate the crowd too for that kind of
Yeah.
music. Like the music that they like. Going back to you saying like promoters should never tell you what to play. The promoters knows their crowd, right?
Yeah.
They give you an idea. Listen, our crowd, hypothetically, if you play heavy techno, it's not gonna work
Sure.
out. If you play down tempo, it's too mellow for them. It's not gonna work
Right.
out. So they give you an idea. They're like, listen, our crowd, and I respect that actually. Our crowd likes.
I mean, at least they give you the heads
yeah,
up.
our crowd likes tech house, and if you like been doing this for a good amount of time, is you walk in there, if like, and that's another thing. You
Yeah.
should always walk. I think if you're playing middle or unless you're opening, even then you should do your homework. I think. But
Oh,
I think you should
absolutely.
like walk a little bit earlier if you're in the middle, for example, to see what they're playing before you and
Yeah.
how the crowd is reacting.
Yeah.
You know, it's all like the best analogy I ever came up with is like we're fishermen, you know?
Yeah.
You throw a bait, if they grab it, you throw the
Keep
same
it going.
bait. If they don't, change your bait.
Yeah.
That's why like obviously that the crowd is very important to what kind of crowd you have, because sometimes you have a crowd that anything you throw, they're just
They're
not
just like not feeling
that's how it
yeah.
is, you know? But anyways, like One Oak is like I know they like commercial-ish
top
tech
40
house.
borderline.
No, not at all. No.
Okay.
The DB Space party that we're doing there is they were trying to educate or introduce electronic music to the more hip hop crowd, right? On the West
So
Hollywood
they're trying to kind of
side.
slowly integrate
Of
it
course,
into them.
of course.
Right.
So you don't go from like that to minimal.
Yeah,
You know, like
yeah.
there's has to be like gradually
Yeah.
go, right? So when you do that, is I play music there like it's tech house. You know,
Sure.
like I don't know, like more commercial side, like Green Velvet, Mark Knight, the things that has vocals they can relate to. Some things from '90s like vocal sample, sometimes from a hip hop vocal sample. Is it something I love to play? 100% not.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a gig.
Yeah.
And on top of it is you can educate the crowd, you know?
Yeah.
So my formula for that is I call it 2 for them, 1 for me. If you play
Sure.
2 songs that they can relate to, that
can
one
get away with the
underground that
one.
like is underground,
Yeah.
they kind of relate to it, you know? But if you constantly go on that path,
They're just not going to connect.
you're doing a couple of things wrong.
Yeah.
When it's like, if the promoter trusted you, put you that, and I respect people. We
Sure.
have people in our scene, newer people who like, dude, I don't want to start my career like that.
Yeah.
This is my sound. If you don't like it, I'm not gonna play those sounds.
Sure.
I respect it.
Sure.
But also respect somebody else who's doing that as well.
Exactly.
You know, at the end of the day, I think one of my biggest thing I always say is music is subjective. You know, like
Yeah.
what you like and what I like. That's a whole our special power as a DJ tastemaker is that we all should be different. If everybody exactly follow the same format, what's the difference between me, you, and a jukebox?
Yeah.
You know, just put your phone in there.
Sure.
Like I think music is about self-expression, right? How are you gonna tell me to express myself a certain way? With respect of the time and venue. Obviously,
Yeah.
it is self-expression, knowing your venue, knowing your time. So I'm not saying if your self-expression is like heavy techno, you think that's expressing yourself, and you go to a venue that's a bar at
And
10
you-
o'clock and
yeah,
bang that techno. Yeah, that is self-expression, but it's contradicting the time and the space you're in. So
Yeah.
that comes from experience. That's another thing, going back to the beginning of the point of like new DJs, like going from bedroom to the big shows.
Yeah.
By all means, you can be talented, you can be special, and I'm very vocal about this. I know a lot of people like around me here talk about this. Is you can learn to DJ, especially with a new pioneer. Honestly, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
You can learn. A lot of it is visual. You know, you can learn that. But I think the art of like reading a room and everything else like that, it comes
Yeah.
from experience.
Yeah, you make a good point. I mean, my whole thing is, I mean, I don't DJ, you know.
Yeah.
So as far as like being able to see these like new DJs that are coming into scene, because for the most part, I mean, everybody. I mean, you hate to say it, but everybody's a DJ. You know, I mean, everybody has the basics down for the most part. And I've noticed that a lot of these beginning artists, as much as they do have every right to express themselves
Yeah.
and play their own sound, as an artist, I think you have to be able to cater to the room, cater to whoever it is that's booking you. Like, I agree that they shouldn't be necessarily telling you what to play, but if they're going to give you a hint like, hey, our crowd is between this and this, as an artist, you should be flexible enough to kind of work within that. Still
course.
be your own artist,
Of
still
course.
kind of play your own
Yeah.
sound. And again, the 2 for you, 1 for me is perfect because you're giving them the benefit, and then
Yeah.
you're kind of you're putting still a little bit of your own sound. So it's marketability, it's being flexible, it's playing to the crowd. I think
Of
that's
course.
the one thing probably for me that I feel like a lot of artists miss on is playing to the crowd.
Of course.
Because you can play your own music
Yeah.
all day long.
I think to touch on that is like one thing that I noticed happen, especially with the veteran DJs, they're so focused on impressing the other DJ and their friends in the room that they forget about the dance
Yeah.
floor. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
them in the club setting. I mean, listen, like there's places like, I don't know, like Burning Man, desert parties. There's a lot of places that you can really get into like
Yeah.
the storytelling, experimental sound. But in the club and the lounge and bar, usually the main goal is like make him dance.
Yeah, of course.
Right. Obviously, it's
Make 'em
very
dance, make 'em
important to
buy
make him
alcohol.
feel. But yeah, make him dance, make him buy alcohol. You know. So I think a lot of times I've seen this firsthand. Even I've been guilty of it. Like
Yeah.
everything I've said so far, honestly, there's some point at least in my career that I've done the same
Sure.
mistakes. You know, like we all go through it. It's kind of a rite of passage. Some people grow out of it, some people don't.
Yeah.
And there's been times that you're so worried about what your friends or what your colleagues think of you that you forget about your main thing, like reading the crowd.
Do you mean as far as like your track selection to the point where they're like,
No,
damn, that's a
yeah,
good-
they're trying 100%
Sure.
that. You know, like, oh, I'm gonna play the like
This
Jake.
track, I
Jake
know.
just walked in. I'm gonna play the most left field track. Like
Sure.
he's gonna be like, yeah, that's
yeah,
dope.
yeah, I feel
But
it.
the person in the dance floor who never heard that is like, dude, what are you doing? You know.
over their head.
So like, I think that's more important, the dance floor, than the people
Of
who
course.
coming there to like kind of like
Scout.
forget,
Yeah,
you know, about
yeah.
whatever they had like all week going on, is kind of just focus on that, you know. Like as I said, is again going off topic, is I was talking about like even like for us, I've been guilty of that too, just losing track and like I don't know if you can curse or not, but
Yeah, whatever the fuck.
yeah,
you
like
want, I don't care.
getting fucked up, like
Yeah.
a lot of DJs, including myself, at some point, like I was constantly getting fucked up, like
Yeah.
whatever it was, substance, alcohol, just like
It's part of the
because
party.
because the crowd is there,
Yeah,
they had in that level. And I had this dialogue the other night with one of my friends. I'm like, dude, like my awakening moment, I think it was that is a very, very visible line that I think a lot of us don't see, which is between us and the dance floor.
Sure.
A lot of the people forget about like industry people and stuff. A lot of the people, especially in a bigger party, they have a regular job, right? They
Right.
do their 9 to 5.
Right.
That's their weekend to like forget about
Yeah,
reality. To
yeah.
come, let loose, get fucked up. You want to do drugs, you want
Yeah.
to drink, whatever. No judgment. And our job is to entertain them. So it's very
Repeatedly.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very bad for us to get to lose in touch with that and be
Yeah.
on the other side of the
Yeah.
DJ booth. And like, yeah, I'm not saying don't have fun. I'm not judging anybody's doing it. That's why I think a lot of more like touring, traveling DJs, they finally get to a point that they're sober. They're
Yeah.
not doing anything, because eventually, I don't care who you are, how much confidence you have in you, it will affect you.
Of course.
I mean, like that's one thing I was gonna get into today too, is like the mental health. I mean, that's like the unspoken thing that is going on in our industry, from small to the big, and it's kind of refreshing that more people are talking about it. Is part of it is that like a lot of us spend majority of our time in the industry.
Yeah.
So like, if you get too deep into that, like it definitely has like long-term effect on you.
Of course. I mean, I've seen. I mean, again, we're a part of technically the party community, in Los Angeles, and for us who do it so frequently, we're on the side where we're a part of the curation of the sound. Like other people come and they go to a club, they party, they get fucked up, they take
Yeah.
whatever they want to take, they go home, call it a night, and that's not their lifestyle.
Yeah.
But for us,
Yeah.
like it's our lifestyle
Yeah.
to the fullest.
Of
So
course.
a lot of people that I've noticed, like in the scene, from again newcomers to people who are veterans,
Of course.
the alcohol, the drug use, it's just something that it's become very habitual.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that. I'm not someone that necessarily partakes in most of
Yeah.
that. I just smoke weed and
Yeah,
drink and whatever. As
Of
calm as I
course.
can keep it with whatever energy I have. But I've noticed, I mean, I just feel like a lot of people, I mean, the mental health issue, I feel like is not touched up a lot
all.
here, because I feel like
Almost.
people are kind of almost scared to hear that.
Yeah.
Because long term, like right now, cool, like we're able to hang, we're young enough to have the energy to push through, and we do the 24-hour days.
I feel like I'm not
I can't
anymore.
either.
I'm not. A young
either,
enough
but-
term, I don't think it applies to me
Yeah.
anymore.
But I know a lot of people that
Yeah,
are really
of course.
pushing the envelope, and I feel like in 10 years, 10, 15 years is when
Oh, yeah.
people are really going to start to see the effect. So I think,
I mean, I was like talking about this with Michael Pham.
yeah,
And he got pretty intense, the conversation. He
course.
was like, dude, like really touch base on this. And I mean, I've been talking about, it's so weird, this conversation is keep coming up with me and a couple of people. Like I was talking to Chris Morin from Dance Spirit, he came up, Tino from Vegas. It just, we keep talking about it. And honestly, I genuinely think it is people like us, like me, who's doing like, who's a little bit more busier involved, like you guys, like in the front, the people who are in the front.
Yeah.
I really think it is our responsibility
Yeah.
to talk about it, touch it, maybe change the thing. One of the things that Tino was doing with this party in Vegas, he talked to me. He's like, okay, even in a profit sense, alcohol brings profit, right?
Of course.
So he was doing juice, like healthy juices, right?
Yeah.
Or coffee. If a healthy juice like is like $10 and a alcohol is $10, they both same amount of money.
Right.
So why not push the other? And I think he was telling me, and I love this guy. Like he's such a visionary.
He's in Vegas.
He's
Out
in
in
Vegas.
Vegas,
Yeah,
right?
Tino
Yeah.
does the Techno Talk with you is in
Yeah.
Vegas. But honestly, everything I do is like I look up to this guy because he's exactly how like industry should be.
Yeah.
Like everything he does is with like he does it like
With
he's
intent.
humble.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
intent. Yeah. And then he's like telling me, he's like, I'm not forcing or I'm not judging that everybody should change, and that will not happen.
Yeah.
But they have the option at least. So if one person wants to go there and they're sober, like you want to have a shot, have a wheatgrass shot,
Sure.
something, so you have something in your hand. I think that was all these little small steps that we start slowly making. It'll help. Like going back to mental health, like even with myself, honestly, the main reason I got into this was I had anxiety issues. I still deal with them.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know about it. Like the closer people know about that. That's why I got into music. I tried meditation, tried yoga. It really didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the type who sits down and like
I
close
my
your
brain's
eyes.
running too
3
fast.
seconds into closing my eyes, I want to open it. I'm like, wait, what was that
Yeah.
sound? You know,
Yeah.
I can't phase out. And so music was the only thing for me that like every time I did it, it calmed me down. Like I had no like goals with it in the sense I want to be this, I want to be that.
Sure.
Started in my bedroom, just
Got rid of the
messing around with it.
anxiety.
My friends
Yeah,
were
for
playing in like New York. I would play around with their equipment. Just that's all. I knew it was making me feel good, you know.
Yeah.
And it's so that's why I got into it for mental health, you know.
Yeah.
And years goes by, you get deep into the industry, you see that there's all the substances, there's all the things
Yeah.
around it, that you get into that side, and the only thing that was helping me to survive was the only thing that is starting to bring me down again, you know. So I think one of the things about mental health, like I told Mike and I told Chris the same thing, that for example, like me, and there's a bunch of people like me that, let's say like either 100% or 90% or 80% of our life is in the industry, right?
Sure.
Like the culture, the way it's become, especially in LA, like, I mean, I hate to even like say it the way I'm saying it, but like this whole like positive only movement, I think there's everything that's wrong with this city.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all about like be positive, be open to the universe. I get all that, but honestly, like there was an article I posted a while ago. There's like there have been studies of like even the people who like commit suicide and stuff is part of that is that movement. You know, they talk about like, imagine somebody who's like chemically is imbalanced, and you keep
Sure.
telling them like, hey, think about butterflies, think about happy things. They don't have the capability or molecule, so they eventually get to a point that there's genuinely something wrong with them.
Yeah, but they
Instead of
just-
finding help,
they play it
they
off like
just
it's
give
okay.
up. Yeah, you
Yeah.
know. So I think it's okay to be positive, but it's also okay to fucking feel like human.
Yeah.
We all humans.
So you're
You know?
saying like the way that people are advocating in this scene, like everything you should just be happy about whatever it is that you're doing, regardless of what it's actually doing to you, or
Yeah,
like
I think it's more of like understand that we all humans. There's
Of
no
course.
possible way to be positive all the time. You know,
Yeah,
it's just
that's
for
fair.
us. There's the image that people expect from artists, from promoters, from all of us. Like
Good times only,
yeah,
always.
that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
get to. That's what I was telling Michael.
Yeah.
It's like, so what I was saying about like 90-80% being in the scene for me actually is 100%. I don't I quit my job. I don't go to school anymore. So every interaction I have besides with my girlfriend is the times
That's
that
the
I
with the scene.
there's the times that I'm in the scene. Like
Sure.
all my friends are industry friends,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I don't have time to spend time with anybody else.
Yeah.
So imagine hypothetical. This is what I was telling Michael. A hypothetical situation. Me as an example. Let's say my grandmother passed away, right? This today.
Yeah.
And there's 6 events that I had already planned that I see my friends. I
Sure.
go out, and you're having a great day, or like let's say you had to work, and this is your time to get away from
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
When I'm in the scene and all the time I'm in the scene, that's not a time for me. I want to genuinely talk to somebody around me because I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling
Yeah.
like I'm having issues. But I'm not going to fuck up your vibes. I'm not going to come in the scene
Sure.
and be like, hey, Jay, come here.
Yeah,
I
let me
know
tell
you're
you
having a
about-
great time. My grandma died and I'm really a mess. Can you talk to me for a second? I'm not saying you wouldn't be okay with that, but
Yeah.
I can't put that on you. So the expectation in our scene is always be positive, always be happy, don't fuck up my vibes,
Sure.
right? So a lot
Okay,
of us,
I get what
you
you're
get what I'm
saying.
saying?
Yeah, I get what you're
so
saying.
it's good. It's always good to be happy. But, and I think that's why it's like, I love your collective especially. Like, it's good to have activities outside the scene.
Yeah.
Because then that times maybe you get the chance
Yeah,
to
you get
go
the
at the
chance to
corner
do
and
that. Yeah,
talk, you know?
exactly.
But for some of us, which is, there's a lot of us in the industry who's like constantly in this, and even in the bigger level, like headliners, that is, this is their life.
Yeah.
They don't get a chance to like express a lot of this real life
Yeah, of
situation. Like,
course.
there's a really good documentary on from Resident Advisor about, I forgot the name of it, but if you look up Resident Advisor on mental health on YouTube,
Sure.
it comes up. And it was so refreshing for me to see that this year, because you see like Luciano, you see like Seth Roxas, a lot of these bigger names talk about how they deal with the same exact thing, right? And it's nice to see them, they deal with these things too. And that's what they were saying. Like, what's his name? Seth Roxas was saying one time he had a show and he broke up with his girlfriend right before a show. So like, I came, like, they were expectation for him. They don't care about
Yeah,
you.
of
You're
course.
entertaining.
Yeah.
You gotta do it this way,
Yeah.
certain way. So even going back to our little scene is like, I think we gotta have a better free space, or like a safe space,
Like a
and the
support
communication that it's if you want to talk to somebody, even if it's off social media, talk to people.
Yeah.
You know, if something
Yeah.
is bothering you, like we all humans.
Yeah.
I never forget, like a month ago or 2 months ago, I had one of those off days, and I posted something on my Instagram. It was probably like so dramatic, But sometimes you just like,
you
like
go
I'm
off.
annoyed.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
put some.
yeah.
And it wasn't even something that thing. And some person like DM me saying like, oh, like how dare you? You're like a positive influence in the scene. You should never post
negative.
things like that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm a fucking human. I don't see myself as an influencer. I'm a human being.
Yeah.
There's gonna be days that I'm like feeling amazing. There's gonna be days that I'm not feeling good, right?
Yeah.
So, and going back to like kind of wrap all of this together. Another thing is when people are dealing with this emotion, they're upset, they're sad, they're depressed, and they come to the scene, they put the mask on to pretend they're happy,
Sure.
to just not ruin other people's experiences. Or the other solution, when they have nobody to talk to, who do they go to? They usually go to drugs or alcohol.
Right.
So what happens, that only puts a Band-Aid on it. And you end up feeling more void, feeling more emptiness, and God forbid in some cases that we see like suicide or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think like that's the case all the time. I think, but it's something that we should be open to, it that it is happening. Almost like, honestly, when the conversation comes up with me on a one-on-one situation with friends, everybody says, yo, I feel the same way. Or there's been times that I felt the same way. But as you said, it's like this taboo that nobody wants to talk about. I think it's really healthy for us to talk to each other, that in any level, like, that it's okay. Like, we all human beings. There's times that like you're not feeling well. It's okay. Talk to me about it. There's times that I'm not feeling well. And again, it can be something that has nothing to do with industry, that like it's something personal life that happened. There's sometimes it's something that it has everything to do with industry.
Right.
Like you heard like somebody hated your mix. You hated your own self. Like your mix was terrible, and you can't like take it upon yourself. But like regardless, I think we should just do a better job, all of us, to treat each other as a human being, not just like the social
parts of the scene.
Not this part of the scene. That's another thing, is like social level. If this person is more important in the scene, I'm gonna give him more attention than the person who just started.
Yeah, because you think you can kind of help.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a matter of like what can you do for me. Just be there for each other. And I think that's another thing that like they gave me mad love for, like Temple. I think it was coming from a place that it was like for all of us. It wasn't beneficial for me.
Yourself,
So everything I think you do is like look at other people, like have them in mind too. Just don't think about it like what is it gonna do. I think a lot of interaction these days, not just in our scene and just our society, unfortunately, is especially in LA, is the first interaction is what can you do for me?
Right.
Can you do this for me? Like one of the first questions when I moved here, it was like, what do you do? What do you drive? How's that relevant to who I am? Yeah. I mean, I was probably hanging on the wrong scene.
I feel like maybe more like what do you do compared to what you drive.
Yeah,
But I mean, just before we kind of get too far off of the mental health thing, I mean, the whole positive, like the extreme positivity that a lot of people share here, I think is like it can have some benefits to it because people are like, when you go somewhere and you're meeting someone for the first time and there's someone that's in our scene, they're very friendly.
Yeah.
Give or take whether or not they know what you can do for them. Everybody wants to make friends with everybody else that's in the scene because, again, you could end up helping them out. They could help you out. They don't know who you are. And everyone's genuinely like there for each other. That's why I think the house music scene in LA has like flourished like crazy over the last couple of years. So I feel like, again, I think people need to do a better job with being comfortable with the fact that they do feel a certain way and not being afraid to reach out. Because if someone were to come to me, someone I see on a regular basis at shows and I've known for years, even though if they're not like close like I am with you, if someone were to come up to me and tell me like, hey, my grandma just passed away and I'm not feeling good, like, can you talk? Fuck this event. I go to events like every fucking day of the week. Like,
I think it's just a fear of talking about it,
Exactly.
Even for me right now, talking about it on this podcast, in the back of my head, there's like my ego or my little other voice is telling me like, hey, don't talk about these things. And it's like people, but the reality is like nobody's talking about it. It is what it is. As you said, like I'm all about like being positive, being happy, being there for each other. But there's gonna be times that like we need to be. I think that's why it's important to do all this community stuff that we do once in a while. Like I noticed there was like last year we did a techno Vikings soccers. Like now they're doing a techno basketball, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Something outside of industry. I think if we somehow like with a majority of people who really involved in it every week, like just kind of like you guys did a mutual event, kind of have the same philosophy. Obviously, we all have different schedule. Make it a weekly or monthly habit for all of us to get together outside of this. Like whether it's bowling, like in every country, every city has something like this for their industry. Bowling, like soccer, basketball, anything that's not this.
I like that idea.
To just get out and like kind of have like I think somebody in the scope group was a Mika or whatever.
Which
somebody
one? Oh yeah,
posted
Micah.
it, like,
Micah Smith from Understated.
Yeah. So like that's dope, dude.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
You know, it's obviously we cannot all make it.
Of
We
course.
all have our lives too, but it's just making all these right
Yeah.
steps toward right
Yeah.
directions.
Yeah.
I think
I
if we
agree.
just sit there and be like, oh well, this person killed herself, that person is just the drugs, that person is this and that, and just
It's
be
not
like, it's
addressing
not
the
me.
issue.
It's like, dude, I'm telling you, like I've dealt with I've dealt with depression and anxiety most of my life, you
Yeah.
know. And it's something that people don't like to talk about. There's some days that feels amazing, and there's some days that you feel like shit.
Yeah,
You know,
of course.
nothing makes sense. And
I mean, you can't
majority,
always be at
you
that
can,
high.
but
You can't
that's
always
like
be at that
psychotic.
high. Yeah,
That's the
I
thing.
think-
That's being
yeah.
manic itself.
I feel like a lot of people tend to kind of go towards the drugs because
Yeah.
they want to stay
I
at
think
that
so.
high, and
Yeah,
like
I-
once you
100%.
once you get off and you start feeling that like
Oh, yeah.
shitty
That void,
feeling
yeah.
about yourself. I mean, not necessarily that everybody does, but
No.
I mean, there
I've
there
been
are
there, dude.
withdrawals.
I'll be
you
the
know what I
first
mean?
one to
And-
admit that I've been
yeah,
there. You know,
yeah.
there's been times in my life that like I went to that direction, trying to like get this
To just mask
temporary
it and
like
just-
thing.
yeah, you keep-
But dude, you leave way emptier. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just in general, I think like it's a very demanding. Again, like in the documentary, even one of the DJs says, like, it's so hard for me to complain about my job when you have people like cutting grass from like
Yeah.
11 to 11, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So, like, our job is not bad. It's something we love to do. It's just like, I think the expectations of just being always like a showman,
Yeah.
always happy,
Yeah.
that's just
That's
not
not
real, you know?
realistic. Yeah, for sure.
It's
I agree.
okay. Like, the whole point I think I'm trying to make is okay to not feel happy all the time. And if you don't, you want to share it, just share to the people around you. You'll be surprised who's
You'd
like
be very
that
surprised.
they going through the
Very
same thing. There's a post thing that there's a like a little quote that people post is like everybody you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing
Yeah.
about. And the older I get, not even from our scene, the more I understand. Like you think you have problems, you talk to the next guy that dude looks happy.
That
Like
guy-
I mean, if like I hate to say it, if Robin Williams, who was a comedian, couldn't survive this. Like depression is no fucking joke, dude.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so hard to explain it to. Like if you never experience it, and I'm so happy if nobody ever experienced it. And a lot of times, it's some people who have like chemical imbalance. It's not as.
It's not.
It's a process.
Sure.
It's not as simple as like, hey, think about butterflies, read this book, go do yoga. It's not like that.
Right.
It's a
It's an
work in
internal-
progress.
right,
It
of
takes a
course.
time.
Yeah.
You know. So when you constantly like when you have one sad emotion and you get faced by like, oh, you fucking up my voice, be happy. Like, it's not gonna help anybody. You know.
Yeah.
If anything, it's just the main thing is like it's a very demanding industry to be in, especially like I mean DJing is hard enough because there's expectation. Once I got to the promoter side, like I mean you guys deal with it, like when you have money online or when you have expectations from the owner, from the club owner,
Yeah.
from the DJs, all these things, you have so many people counting on you, so when you disappoint them, that starts personally affecting.
Of
There's so
course.
many things that messes with our mental health that from outside it doesn't seem like it,
Yeah.
but I know we all deal with it. Like me and Mike talk about it, and in so many different people, like we dealt with it. I genuinely think, I mean, I've been sober. I always do this like every couple of months. I'm pretty good at like controlling myself. Like if every time I feel like even the here
Getting a
and
handle
there
of
is
it.
like even here and there is like not adding any positive thing in my life
Sure.
or anything that helps me out. I cut it out. Like
Yeah.
I've been sober again for a couple of months. And I'm saying again because every couple of months I rotate it, and
Sure.
I think it's a moderation. Like I like by no means the whole talk here is not to judge the people who do things. To each their own, you know. Like I've been there. I
Yeah.
mean, there's people who are gonna sit here and talk about positive and doing and not doing drugs and this, and they never done it. Respect to them also.
Sure.
I'm somebody who lived in 100% on both sides, and I've learned maybe it's just my age too. I'm like 31 now. The older
Yeah.
I get, I really appreciate being sober.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's such a good feeling, you
Yeah.
know. And I think with us is if we eventually try, like there is still money in this industry, if you just put your attention in a different way, you know, like
Yeah.
like if we try to slowly make it a habit that you can go to parties and you don't
not
have
get
to be
done.
like that fucked
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
you know, here and there is okay, but like we have people in our industry like 3-4 days every week, no sleep,
Yeah,
drugs and
dude.
stuff,
Yeah.
and they think there's no effects long term, and I've been there too, but trust me, there
Oh,
is,
absolutely.
you know. So at what cost? I think that's the thing, and you gotta like always, I think, ask yourself this question is like, why am I doing this? You
Yeah.
know, what's the main reason I'm doing this? For me, as I said, it was something that made me like feel like I have a purpose, and also something that calmed me down. You know,
Yeah.
like again, everybody has a different reason why they're doing it, but if it's just to do like
Just to get
get
done. Yeah.
drugs and
Yeah.
stuff, you know,
I
I don't
feel
know
like
if it's the right scene.
the baby steps, like again bringing just more recognition to it, whether it's you and I talking about it when not a lot of people will choose to talk about it because they choose to like don't fuck up my vibe kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's just pretty much the only thing. Like it's definitely not something that's going to happen overnight, because
Oh, no.
the scene
No.
is what it is because of what
Of
it
course.
is. You know,
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's kind of like self-perpetuating kind of thing,
Yeah.
but small recognition, small kind of just people not being afraid to talk to each other about it.
Yeah.
I like the idea that Micah had with setting up a day where we're not going to a show, we're not
Yeah.
going to an event, everybody's getting together, still the same
Yeah.
industry people that
Yeah.
you'd see, and doing an activity that has not, I mean, still kind of has something to do with music if needed, but
Yeah.
not necessarily going to a show and fucking raging every
course,
time,
of
you know?
course.
And I think, again, it's not something that gets addressed enough. And I think with the level of intensity that people in our scene are kind of taking,
Yeah,
the
I
scene
think it's
to
honestly like,
is-
I mean, I
it's most
hate to
important
say
here.
it. I really think it's getting worse. You know,
I
the
mean,
past
there's
couple of
new-
years alone is just like, when I walk around the party, like everybody's gone,
Yeah.
dude. You know,
Yeah.
and again, as I said, I've been there myself. It's just like, if you do it with moderation and it's not affecting you, by all means. But like the more I get into it and the more I talk to people, they're not happy. They're
Yeah.
not doing it happily.
Yeah.
Like they are. I never heard anybody be like, "Yeah, dude, every week I'm up
I
4 days a
fucking
week.
love it."
I love it." Yeah, like you know, like it's like been helping me so much in
Yeah.
my life. Is like and a lot of times they don't talk about it, and a lot of times if they don't talk about it,
Exactly.
it's not because they're happy. It's just because they don't want to.
They don't want to make it an issue. They don't want to make it seem like they have a problem.
And that's another thing. I think if we talk about it, it's not a matter of those people. Maybe if somebody's listening, they're like, dude, like, I thought only me is feeling like that. I think the more we are people who like people look at me and they're like, oh, like, well, he's happy all the time. He's this and that. When they realize I'm dealing with the same shit, maybe it makes you feel comfortable. Like, dude,
to
like,
kind of
yeah.
pump the brakes a little
You
bit
know,
for
like
yourself.
exactly. We all been there.
Again, it's not necessarily to knock anyone that
Not at
is
all.
heavily involved
Honestly,
with it.
that was
and I
one of my
respect that.
biggest things.
Yeah, I can tell. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think that's what
No.
the message was that you were trying to get
Yeah,
across.
I'm not
in the
trying to be like,
slightest.
I'm better than you.
No,
I'm
no, no, no.
sober for 2
Right,
months and
right.
you're fucked up.
Right.
No, all I'm saying is like, there has to be more into this scene and industry.
Than just
like, let's take
focusing
it
on
back to music. I mean,
Yeah.
I know it is about music, but I feel like, I mean, it's part of the problem is fucking corporations, bro. Like, the scene is getting big, all this corporation coming in.
Yeah.
But there's two sides to that also. There's a side, like, even Insomniac is doing, like, I haven't been to DC, like, meditation estates. Like,
Oh,
a lot of,
I didn't know
like,
they were doing that in
Yeah, I
DC.
heard, like LIB is doing it, Burning Man is
Yeah.
doing it. There's a lot of positive things you can also bring with the community and the scene that is separate from that, you know.
Yeah.
If we have this power to bring people together, why don't we put it in a good
do.
use, you know?
We do have
Which
the power.
and we do
We
it.
do
like,
have
you
the
know,
power.
I do the fundraiser every
Absolutely.
year for the Children's
Yeah.
Hospital. You guys have done things. If somebody in our community, like Chris, like needs money, we all get to. I
Yeah,
love to seeing these
absolutely.
things.
Absolutely.
Like, get together for a better cause, not to just get together every week to get fucked up and
Right.
forget about what happened that night.
Right, yeah.
Just do it with the intent. Do it for a purpose. That's
I think
all.
it's just educating kind of the masses, because again,
Yeah.
a lot of people are still coming into the scene. A lot
Yeah,
of people
of
are still
course.
trying to figure themselves out. For example, like you and I feel like have a little bit more experience than some people who are just kind of starting to get into
Yeah.
it. And the party scene is the party scene. Like you
Yeah.
come in there, music's great, you're with your friends, you're on the other side, you're not necessarily with the dancing
Okay,
all
yeah,
the time.
yeah.
So it gives you an extra sense of like, you know,
Yeah.
it feels good.
It feels great,
It feels
yeah.
great to be a part of the
Of
scene and be a
course,
part of the community.
yeah.
You see the same people out. So I
Yeah.
just feel like those people kind of, hopefully watching this, can kind of take from it to, you can kind of pump the brakes for yourself and
Yeah.
still have as much fun.
And all of these
and
things
take care of
starts
everybody
from a
around
personal
you.
level, you
Yeah,
know.
of course.
How am I gonna sit here and talk about people if I'm not leading by example, you know?
yeah.
And who knows? Like maybe like 3 months from now, I start like drinking or doing whatever again. But honestly, everything I've done in my life, in my defense at least, is always been in moderation. I never felt like I was totally on the other side, you know.
Yeah.
Again, it's a case by case thing, as you said. Like just talking about it, I think it helps. I just want us to slowly create a habit that like there's a lot more into this that we
Yeah.
can do together,
Yeah.
rather than just being fucked up
Yeah,
every week.
that's
You know,
fair. I like
start from there. You know.
Yeah. What can we expect moving forward from Temple, from Ray Cash? What do you
Just
got
try
going
to
on?
like I mean with this thing is like just I guess I even me myself I get we all get busy.
Of course.
I think just be there for each other more. Like if people like need somebody to talk to, like be there for them. And like once in a while, if you genuinely feel like somebody who's like in the scene, but you see him even a tiny bit more than like just the industry friend, like you
Yeah.
have some connection as a
Yeah.
friend. It's my responsibility to like when we're not in a club even to hit you up. Be like, I've been bad at that sometimes. Like I'm really
you're human, though.
teaching myself that this year alone. just hit you up, be like, hey, Jake, how you doing?
Yeah.
Or I see you like at the party, I'm like, you kind of in the funk. Take it upon myself to be like, what's up, bro? You good?
Yeah.
Pull you on the side.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that helps out for you even be like, okay,
Someone's
he cares about
noticing
me.
the fact.
He cares about me. I'm not just here to just be another number for his party.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking human being, you know? Like one thing I even like learned from even like Cyril, I remember when he started doing like clinic was like before I was like I didn't even know that many people in LA that in the beginning from the scene is he would go around the club including me just say hi, welcome to my party.
Yeah.
It stuck with me. I wanted to come back next week and be like, yo, the owner knows me, you know?
Yeah.
I took that. I always take these positive things from people and I try to apply it to my brand. Like I do that at Temple. If you see me, even on my own birthday, that is so full.
Yeah.
I cannot stand still.
Of course.
I want to go around and like get to know who you are, why you came here.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you're here.
Yeah.
And it's not fake. It's genuine. Like
of course.
That's the thing I always say about Temple. Whether it's like 10 or 20 people or whether it's 200 people, it really doesn't make a difference for me. I want to have a good party. Obviously, everybody's goal is that. But I care about more like I want you to feel like this is the spot where you can be on yourself. You can enjoy yourself. Like, you know, like their name Temple, I mean, I decided to in another interview, it's from a John Cutler track called It's Yours.
Okay.
If you look up the lyrics, which I'll send it to you later, it's like if you find this temple, do you have the knowledge to enter temple? It's yours, you know? It's like it talks about this place that everybody's like looking for. They finally find it, but is this the right place for you to go? And when you go, do you want it? If you had it, would you flaunt it? Things like that. It says, right? So that was a whole concept that like this is called our safe space, however you want to say it, for artists, for the people on dance floor. There's no creeps in our party. You never seen like there's no fights. None of that thing. I want that. I eventually want the whole. I mean, as it gets bigger, it's really hard, a lot harder to control you know.
Totally.
But if we start a foundation right, we're gonna have a nice building. You know, but if you start putting the bricks crooked, the whole building is gonna go down. So you know, like I'm trying to create the habit of these little things that you do from. I'm constantly learning from other people around me too. You know, and I'm like, as you said, like I'm always like honestly, if you're watching, whether we know each other, I'm always try to be there if people ask me for advice, you know. If something that I'm experiencing and I fucked up and I learned from it, I don't want you to fuck up.
Yeah, but you're the best person to ask for that.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't know, it's being a New Yorker or sometimes, like it's kind of like a love and hate with that. Some people love it, some people hate it, because I'm very blunt.
Yeah.
Like, I don't tell you what you want to hear, I tell you what you need to hear. You know, some people really appreciate it, some people hate it.
Yeah.
Like but sometimes people hate it at first and they love it after. Because I'm much rather get a hurtful truth than a comforting lie.
Sure.
That's how I expect from my friends. You know, if I ask you, I'm like, hey, like, I have this idea to bring go-go dancers, hypothetically, to Temple. You're like, dude, I don't think that goes with your band, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's not what I want to hear, but what I need to hear. And I'm asking you because you have some experience.
Sure.
So I'm always open. My door is always open, like whether it's on Facebook, phone number, Instagram.
Where can they find you on Facebook?
Like
Instagram?
Facebook is Ray Kash with a K. That came from Ray Kashvari. That's my full last name. It's not some gangster rapper thing. And then Instagram is Ray Gazem. It's just a whole like another it's a joke. And my phone number is actually, I don't care. I give it out. It's 516-655-0657. Just don't call me late night. My girl will kill me.
Well, look, man, I respect what you're doing. You're a great person that obviously you're more than just an artist. You're more than just a brand. You're someone who is looking to kind of spread awareness. You're someone who wants to help better the scene, not just get in there and kind of take from it, but you want to give to the scene and you want to give to the community. You want to build. So that's something everybody
you do in life. I think if you do it as a team, I think it's better. I think there was a saying, I don't know if it's international, like from my Persian side, like my dad used to tell me, it's like, he's like, you get a piece of wood, you can break it, right? You want easily. You put 10 of them together, you can. You know, it's the same thing in a sense of like working together. Like that whole mutual thing, I was so proud of all of you guys. It was so amazing to see. And I mean, Eddie is like one of the first guy, honestly, who started that even before I did anything like it in LA, that working with different people. You know, he started working with Incognito, then the new one, the mutual, for the ones who don't know, I'm sure everybody saw it in the industry. It was you guys, Understated, Incognito, and Dialogue. It's always better. I'm not saying every week do everything together, because you have to have your collective. You have to have your own voice, your own vision. Sure. But once in a while, not even for business sense, even though it obviously works out in a business sense. It's just to work together, dude. Like, if we all in it because we love them, let's be honest, for real. Let's put the bullshit on the side. there's no fucking money in this. I mean, like, I don't know how nice to say
Well, I
it.
haven't quit my day job, bro.
Yo, bro, like,
It took-
I straight up, like, my day job, I was making at least 5 times more what I make
Yeah.
every month here.
Yeah.
I was not happy. I was miserable. I'm like, I'm not gonna go to a place that every day I'm not happy. This is something I love doing. I'm not making money. There's times that I'm like super broke. There's times that I have a good month, you know, from my personal gigs, and it's just like that. But I love doing it, and I know you fucking love doing it, and I know Eddie loves everyone. If money comes, it's a fucking blessing.
Yeah.
But if that's your main goal, you're totally in the wrong industry.
Yeah.
There's bathroom guys. I mean, I hate to say, there's bathroom guys who make more than you in a nightclub.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
a
yeah.
fact.
Oh yeah.
The bartender walks out with more.
Yeah.
Not saying that their job is not as important as us, but you bring the whole vibe, and that's just a part of the industry. So you gotta accept that. And I'm talking about, like, I've seen. Forget about the 1% that is like this mega
Killing it,
headliner at
yeah,
$40,000,
for sure.
$60,000. But even our local headliners, they're even not surviving. You know.
Yeah.
It's a really tough, compatible industry. You know.
Yeah.
So it's just you gotta like be in it for right reason, you know.
Yeah.
Just you love it. That's why you're doing it, and always try to like help each other. You know, like as I said, like working. Especially, I think if everybody help each other, like if I'm running an event on Tuesday, the next guy that's doing it Wednesday, you guys doing it Friday. Really, me helping you out takes nothing away from me.
Right, of
or
course.
you helping me out, it doesn't. If anything, it brings us together. Once in a while, maybe like both of us have events on Tuesday. Even in that scenario, it doesn't mean we have to throw rocks at each
Sure.
other. It's just like at the end of the day, we love this thing. We're trying to bring something for the people who are not in this scene to get out of their real life and have this like little like couple of hours of
Yeah.
fantasy land, or like even for ourselves to feel good about ourselves. Music is like a very important thing for humanity in
Of
general.
course,
It brings people
absolutely.
together. Every emotion I can think of was attached to memory. My saddest day, I listened
Yeah.
to sad music.
Yeah.
My happiest day, I put a good track on. My days that I had a breakup, a heartbreak, I put a song on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
it
soundtrack
controls
to
a
your
lot of
life.
emotion. Exactly,
Soundtrack to your
100%.
life. Yeah.
So it's continued to be be the same way. I think honestly, this is something I'm gonna take to grave for me.
Yeah.
One thing that with me, my mentality is like I've said this billion times. It's like a broken record. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
My goal with my personal goal is I have like goals, I have dreams in this industry, but my biggest thing is like as long every month, every year I'm doing even a tiny bit better than
Yep.
last year, I think I'm on the right
Yep,
track. But if
absolutely.
you like try to go super
Start.
high, super fast,
You can crash
even
harder.
if you make it, yeah, exactly, you crash harder. And I think that's one of the biggest problem that I noticed with the newer generation of DJs or event throwers is like they want it it's just society is like that these days. It's like about like instant gratification. It's like I want it now.
Yeah.
If I don't get it right
Yeah.
now, it's not for me, you know.
Yeah.
Like and it's like people see me, they're like, oh wow, dude, you're playing all the parties, like jokingly or not jokingly.
Sure.
It's like you don't leave gigs for us. It's like, oh, how do you do this? And I had people come and ask me, one of the questions that I think is low key like a backhand compliment is like, hey, how did you get that gig? I'm like, I don't know. Is that like, are you saying I don't deserve it?
Yeah.
Or like, you saying that's one of the things. But my thing is like, nobody ever sees all the empty dance
course
floor
not.
you play.
Of course not.
It's always like that. Any
Yeah.
industry,
Yeah.
anything in life, you know, you see somebody
they're
doing
there
good.
now.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. Like, oh, why? It's always like people. One of the things I say is people believe they deserve the opportunities you got for the work they didn't put. That's
Yeah.
a big one. You know, like. Is as I said, everybody sees the finish line, nobody sees the process, and enjoy the process. Process is part of it.
Yeah.
Like I posted another article
Yeah.
recently that was talking about that. It's like it's not like everybody's just like it was about Nas. I don't know if you saw that. It was an interview with Nas from New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
It's
actually.
like you don't go
did that.
from like first day to Tupac. There's a process to that, and
Yeah.
enjoy that process.
Yeah.
You know, same thing with me. It's like I had nights that was terrible. The DJ experience, like again, like anxiety, like the people who deal with anxiety, they know it's like a silent killer. It's like sometimes I'm like perfectly calm, and like the music help me to get calm
Yeah.
and not have anxiety. And sometimes it's the opposite. The whole like an event that I have is making me so
Make
anxious,
it worse. Yeah.
and like I'm shaking right
Yeah.
before something, you know.
Yeah.
So point being is like just don't rush it. Enjoy it. Like if
Yeah.
it's a great thing.
Yeah.
You know, there's whether you on the promoter side or you're DJ side, I think if you do everything with the right intention
Absolutely.
and purely from heart, it'll make it there. Just be patient, you know. And by all means, I'm far from making it in any sense. My party, my DJ career, I'm just keep going for more.
Again, as
you
long
know.
as you're doing a little bit better
100%,
the year for
100%. And I genuinely, ever since I moved to LA
Yeah.
from New York, every year I have accomplished more.
It's good, man.
You know,
We've seen it. Again, a
Yeah.
lot of people speaking on behalf of us at 900 Block. We see
I
what you're
appreciate
doing.
you.
I appreciate you. thank you for
Yeah, of
coming
course,
on.
dude.
Thank you for
Yeah.
bringing these
And again,
topics
it's
to
one
light.
of those things that like with accomplishment, even in that sense, I think is like, again, everything in life is subjective, like music taste, accomplishment. Like for a new person, I mean, I was there like when I started. I've been doing this like 10 years, DJing and stuff, and then promoter longer than that. Like I was like
Yeah.
promoting here and there.
Sure.
And I once I started DJing, I started promoting. And I remember like in the beginning, I wanted to, like, back then it was like Tiesto and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm gonna be the next Tiesto. And I was humble enough. And I'm not saying not have that dream. It's okay to have that in the beginning.
But get there progressively.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
try to get to
yeah.
Tiesto when
and
you're.
I think and you focus so much on the big. Sometimes you forget about all the things that are in front of you, or like
Yeah,
what you got to do, because all you want is that. Nothing else matters.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes that works for people. Also, is like, as I said, like when I'm saying like it's subjective to have like success is subjective. To me, making it is like, honestly, my ultimate goal. I like probably never talk about this in public with the industry, is like, as long as I'm at a point I can do this every day for my life, be happy with it. I can travel and I can pay my minimum bills.
Yeah.
I'm not saying buy a Ferrari
Yeah.
and buy a mansion in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Just pay my minimum bills, be able to live a life based on this life. I'm happy. I'm genuinely happy
Yeah.
with that.
Well, that's good, man.
You know?
That's good. That's great to hear. Because again, you and I both know not a lot of people do feel like that.
Yeah.
And the fact that you, someone who's a veteran in the scene, someone who has mileage on, everything that you've done here,
Yeah.
to hear you say that is only going to help people that are up and coming. That was the whole goal for getting into the industry, is to not do everything for us,
Yeah.
but to do something for the community. Give people a direction, again, with bringing up the mental health, with bringing up the path it takes to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Is everyone has their own time. Everybody has their
100%.
own path. Everybody
And
has
even like we talk
their own
about all of
problems.
us, like about like how there's so many DJs. Like, yeah, sometimes it gets annoying, but at the same time, it's like maybe some of them dealing with the same thing I'm
Yeah,
dealing with. That
yeah,
help.
yeah.
Who am I to say like it shouldn't be?
Yeah.
I'm saying come in it, but if you're coming in it, learn from like us that like crash and burn, and just do it for right reason and do it the right way. Don't rush it.
Yeah.
If you're doing it, just take the right path. I think that's the whole point of like what makes me, or the person who's a lot more like I as I told you, like everybody, every time I talk to somebody who I look up to, I try to like pick their brain and see.
Yeah.
Even the people who just start, sometimes you can learn something from them.
Of course.
It's like this.
It's fresh eyes,
Yeah.
fresh
Whether
ears.
you're in a music side that you think you're the best DJ. We were talking about this with Tino the other day too. It's like this is one scene that there's no such thing as I'm the best. You're
No, of
always
course.
gonna learn.
Yeah.
Like the people who've been doing it like 30, 40 years, or like even bigger now, but longer than that, like Carl Cox, Upfire, even that, like or even like forget about that far, Doc Martin and Marcus White, the two people in LA that like constantly doing everything.
Yeah.
I respect them so much, both of them. Like they're doing it with integrity. They adapting to the scene. So imagine like the generation they started and the generation listened to
That
it,
they're listening to
totally
way
different,
different.
but they're still relevant.
Yeah.
How are they doing that? It's because they're adapting, they're changing their sound, they're changing their style. They understand that they still have love for the old school
Sure.
people, and they understand the new kids coming
And
in
they
the thing.
just-
And you just combine both of them,
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things, like everybody can get in it, but if you want to stay in it, like staying in it is not gonna be easy.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be good. Just it's a hard time. Like it's a work in progress.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes, as I said, like the whole mental health thing. Sometimes it's harder. Sometimes it's easier. But it's definitely rewarding when it's good, and it can be hard sometimes too. Just if this is genuinely what you love, and I'm sorry, I'm like non-stop talking,
No,
but like
dude.
this is genuinely what you love, and it helps you in any ways that just do it by all means. Like nobody should tell you otherwise. That's the
Respect.
whole thing, I think.
Thank you for coming on, brother.
Much
I
love, bro.
appreciate the
Thank you
words,
for
man.
having
Of
me
course.
again.
We'll have you on again.
Yeah, I
Of
would
course.
love to. Doors open anytime anybody has any questions, any advice, or anytime, even if you want to come play, you haven't played at Temple, templelosangeles@gmail.com. It's not, just hit me up, and we're always open to having new DJs, hearing new sounds, and just doing it for the industry. And as I said, like the last thing is just look at it as like a collective, as a family. Like everything you do for your personal goal is important, but also like think about how it's gonna impact everybody else around you, and that's, I think, the main point to take away. All right,
Respect.
sounds good.
Thanks for
brother.
coming out, man.
All right, much
Appreciate
love.
it.